Hello, people. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another beautiful episode of the Comedian's Paradise. And today's guest is a tantalizing, gorgeous, sexy, and beautiful clown, the fantastic Sue Morrison, an influential and brilliant clown all the way from Canada, telling about the unique method of clowning through masks. I hope you enjoy this episode and don't clown around too much. Oh, hello.
Have we done it?
Hello, Sue.
Wow, miracle.
I can't hear you. I don't know what's. Let me check. Try again. Hello, hello. Try again. Hello, hello, hello.
Any luck? No?
I can see it. What sign language? Let's see.
Well, mute is not.
Let me try something. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Okay, yeah, we'll do it like this. We'll do it on this. Here we go. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, I can finally hear you. I think maybe, yeah. Always.
Well, it'll be my fault because I'm terrible at this. So, okay.
We're here though, aren't we now?
Well, it's, clowns trying to do something. It's not not going to happen. Not how we think. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we're clowning around. Sorry, that's British humour with the puns. I don't want to bring you that atrocity of British puns.
Thank you, but too late. You just did it. So.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on. I'm intrigued to find out about it because especially after listening to the Barnaby King, the interview I had with him, it made me very interested to find out about. Like, he told me about the workshop he did with you, telling me about like how you mixed in clowning with Red Indian clowning. Is that not American Indian clown? What's the correct?
Yeah, don't say that. Now we must be politically correct, and we either say First Nations or Indigenous. So, just to be correct.
Indigenous clowning with European clowning, and then like Richard went and created his own style of clowning, and then you taught him. Yeah, it's intriguing. When I did the workshop in Gurlier, I always knew that what like the clowning that I did was sort of the start into it, and like through interviewing Barnaby King, there's so many like different things in clowning, and yeah, it's a lifetime, isn't it, in terms of clown?
Oh well, I hope so. I mean, we want to always be in a state of learning at that moment, and you find clown not necessarily in a workshop that calls itself clown, but sometimes if you read about jazz music or something like that, that's the closest thing I've seen or I've read about describing clown, actually. And I co-wrote a book. It's still not as close as jazz talk. So, but I would say that it's not. So Richard developed this process of work because Lecoq told him, you should go back to Canada and make your own way of working. I think because Canada is a new country and, draws on lots of different traditions, obviously. And anyway, through his process and encounters and learnings, teachings, it's more like he learned about the philosophy of Indigenous clown, and that is sort of, if we ever faced all directions of ourselves at once, we could just laugh at the beauty of our ridiculousness. So, okay, so it's not like this process exists in any band or tribe. It's a process that he developed to try to access and express that concept, if that makes sense. Well, not really, but whatever.
So it's a bit like the Slumdog Millionaire. Have you seen the film?
Yes, fabulous film.
Oh, amazing. Great film, and it's very well put together, and it's funny about how he was able to answer those questions through his life experiences. And I get that in some ways that's what I think of what you said with Richard.
Ooh.
He developed his own thing through his life experiences.
Well, through, yes, yes, sort of life, or through his clown encounters and teacher guide encounters, I would say, you
Yeah.
know. But yeah, that's I got goosebumps. Yeah, that's about the Slumdog Millionaire, because I mean we are the sum total, the culmination of all our experiences, and sort of how do we even access that or manifest that or create opportunity for that to be expressed, is something. And it's not because we make a series of six masks, totally six masks for the six directions. Um, but and people think, oh, I know what my masks are going to be. They're going to be about this, this, and this, and it's like, no, it's almost always about other things, and we access whatever that quality is or emotion is through the story of the mask that we encounter when we wear the mask.
Ah, okay.
Oh boy, that's a lot clearer. Yeah, no. Yeah, it's hard to explain.
It's one of the things I found interesting already. So I've interviewed Rennie Bezonet. I've interviewed
Oh,
Barnaby
you mean
King.
Quebec, Rene Besnay in Quebec? Is that the
Yeah,
right?
that's the one.
Oh, yeah, it's another Rene. But yeah, okay, I know who you mean.
The German man who was in Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah,
Is that the right one?
yeah. It's not another one, but okay.
But yeah, he was very interesting. And then you got Aito Basori that I interviewed. Then you got Mark Curtis who worked with Philippe. I studied at Gaulier. And then there's
Mhm.
one thing that each person has their own sort of idea of clowning. There's no sort of set thing in each person I get on the podcast.
Mhm. No, it's absolutely no. There's I think ultimately, like, great work meets at the top, and how you get there is how you get there, and maybe a culmination of different things. Um, yeah, but you can't be like a fascist about it, because it's, I mean, clown by nature is anarchist. So if you, as soon as you write rules about it, it's going to break those rules, maybe not even intentionally. As clown, I think we have difficulty following rules and living under some level of constraint, because our nature is to push against that in some way, even in an innocent way. But for us, it's innocence after experience, which is a different kind of innocence, you know,
Yeah.
because that, like, to go through experience means you have survived something. You have to understand something about sacrifice and loss and connections and things like that. I think I like to think in terms of I want to include all aspects of humanity, and it's not all good. I mean, we're seeing that right now everywhere, a lot of places in the world right now. Um, so it because I think a clown can be incredibly sad or like heartbroken, or and really not like pretend, but really access that. Um, and I think clowns can be hilariously funny. I mean, I think they can be anything, because clowns can just be anything and look like anything. It's I don't. So even when people think a clown has to look a certain way, it's like absolutely not, absolutely not. Who knows what they look like today? They're everywhere.
No, what I mean a lot of, what about Piers Morgan, or what about Donald Trump, or what about
Oh,
no,
they,
no, oh, that's
I
too
don't know Piers
controversial.
Morgan. That's more a British thing, and I actually turn it off if it ever comes on. I mean, Trump, I would not give him the credit to be a clown. He understands nothing about humanity at all. So he's out. I mean, he's not a Bouffon. He's not Clown. He's just a failed spirit or something. Or I mean, well, okay, but who follows him? I mean, who gives him all that power? That's another thing. You don't exist just because you have an idea about yourself. I mean, the thing is, I think we all have ideas about ourselves and how we think we come across, think what we look like, what we sound like, and it's not that ever. I think it's hardly ever that. Yeah.
No.
So,
This isn't the start of the podcast, by the way, Sue. This is a little chat.
oh
Just
well, I'm done. That was all the gold.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Did it? Okay.
11 minutes. Good. That's good. Shortest edit ever. Thank you, man.
Yeah, good, because I never remember what I talk about. So that's true. Anyway, so you studied with Gaulier. What did you take with Philippe?
I did the full year.
Oh,
But I stopped midway because of the pandemic. So I did
mm,
2 terms, and then I switched into and then I came back and completed the third term. But yeah, I think if I was to go back there again, I'll probably just do 2, which is
mm,
Le Jeu and Clown, because that seems to
yeah.
be the thing that I do better at. I don't know what it is. A lot of the times when I'm in an uncomfortable position or in a situation that's where I make a mistake, that seems to be where I make the biggest mistakes. And I think one of the things is there's a little thing that often happens when I go on stage. I think that I'm smarter than I am. No, so no,
That's what I'm saying. Is like we have this idea about ourselves, and it's really
I
you're not alone.
I think I'm smarter than I am, but
Mm,
and that shows, and I then do something silly and I make a mistake. But also at the same time, I'm not as stupid as other people think as well. And that's often sometimes when I do something deliberately stupid, a lot of the times people can't tell when I'm doing it deliberately or when I am doing it deliberately.
wow, I'd have to see that. But okay.
Well,
Well, but yeah. It's about, I think, the process of work, the process of this creativity, how that works for you. I mean, I worked with Philippe for years, and um, but I had already been working with Richard for years, and already had worked in improvisation a lot, like Second City, and that, I was with Second City and theater sports and stuff. And I found that very helpful to work with in Philippe's workshop as well. But I think if you're a newbie, it can be a little more devastating,
it,
possibly.
I mean, yes. I mean, I've seen people get quite destroyed by some of it, and I mean, I heard an incident of a girl saying that he was a bad teacher, and it was, no, I wasn't there, but people
Mm,
told me about it, and they got kicked out. And I hear stories about different people getting kicked out, and then getting saying, "Oh, I've been working at bars all year, and you're saying this about me," and then I hear something about I've seen situations where people get annoyed. He's had to go at me quite a few times, but I just it's a show, it's a performance. I mean, I'm not really too bothered how I look on stage. If I look really stupid or really weird, but people are laughing, I don't really care. So a lot of the stuff he said didn't get to me as much, but
mm,
um, I don't get on with him though. But I do thank him for the
yeah.
experience. I'll be straight and honest, but it's a good school and it helped me a lot, and I got a few things out of it, so I'm happy about it. I enjoyed the
Mhm.
experience as a whole.
Hmm. Good. Good. Yeah.
I don't know how that sounds to you.
Well, no, it's I mean, I had a lot of fun working with Philippe, and he actually, it's the only time I know of that he actually got up and did an improv with me, and it was, terrific fun. Yeah, well, Yes. It's a process, and I'm definitely grateful for my time with him, of course. Really, yeah, it was great. I mean, I and not like it didn't make me cry. He did, usually when he was drunk, so, uh, that's that's another thing. No, but yeah, anyway, so
I,
so
sorry.
no, I was wondering, like, what, so it sounds like you're interested in producing a podcast because of the different avenues uh, of study of this unknowable clown world. This,
Okay, so I I've always enjoyed making people laugh, and I've done a lot of like I've been in stand-up for quite a while now, and a lot of
okay.
times I'm in the stand-up world, but I've done stand-up, but I've never found like joke writing that interesting. But I've always been people have always laughed more through me rather than any jokes I produce per se. And as I've been to Goalie and done that, I'm more and more interested in like the physical side of comedy, more so than with words, because I see a lot of things with comedians, they get the joke stolen. And I see
Mhm.
one of the big things being a stand-up is a lot of people are good joke writers, but
Mm.
if you
Don't
take
know how
the
to
jokes
be, yeah.
away, they have nothing. And I think that's a big loss
Exactly.
in the
Yeah.
performance because if you a lot of the best stand-ups I've seen, like you got Joey Diaz and a lot of very good clowns, it's the unique quality about them that makes them really funny. And that is something someone can't take away unless they really, really put a lot of work in to study you. But by that well, I don't know that's a lot harder to emulate when it's unique qualities about your personality or how you look or like
Mm.
with great actors like Tom Hardy. A lot of the roles if someone else played them, it wouldn't be as good an effect because he's such a great actor and he's got a great charisma and maybe it's body positions. That's what makes him a great performer, and that I'm more interested in. That's why I'm interested in clowning because it focuses, I feel, on more unique aspects of you to make things funny, rather than
Mhm.
you write on a piece of paper. But when I'm in a lot of comedy gigs, when I work and be funny without doing all that, comedians all a lot of the time go to me, "Where's the joke? You got to do this, you got to do that," and they try and they a lot of times they don't like that. But also, I am a questionable character. I am someone who some people like me, some people don't. So that as well. So that's they're the things that
Mm.
what brings me to clowning is I find it very interesting to be funny through being what you have rather than what you've got on a piece of paper.
Mhm. The who you are sort of thing and how you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course that you don't want, I mean, nothing should be taught that way. I mean, it should be, uh, developed and expressed. This comes into that concept of facing directions of yourself, all directions of yourself, and then laughing at the beauty of that. Like the first part of the statement is just like almost the easy step in a way in this process of work, or the most obvious step. But it's learning to laugh at that, which is a whole other level, to because we all take ourselves, I think we take ourselves generally pretty seriously. And certainly as I get older, I take myself a lot more seriously than I used to. And I should be like the opposite, but now I'm like, it's miserable. And I know why people want to yell at people to shut the gate, get out of my yard and stuff. Um, yeah, anyway, well, it's interesting that you come from a stand-up background, and so, your ability to handle, Philippe, I understand that a lot more because stand-up's a pretty uh, immediate and, brutal sort of world, I think.
Oh my God, yes. I'm to be honest, I don't know what it is at with stand-up, but I find other comics or other performers much more difficult to deal with than the audience. I can deal a lot more with, but it's I
Hmm.
don't like there's a lot of rubbish that goes on in comedy, and a lot of
Oh
people.
my God, yes.
That's the thing that I don't really. There's a lot of.
Mhm.
Well, also in clowns as well. A lot
Mhm.
of the clowns that you come across in the Edinburgh Fringe are sort of Gaulier-based clowns, and yeah, you may not like what I with a lot of the Gaulier clown. I feel that's more theatre-based clown, more, and I feel that some of it's people go into Gaulier and they think they've understood clowning, but I think there's a lot more to that. There's a lot of things you've got to learn on it. That's one of the reasons why one of the reasons why I set up the podcast is that I find the mechanics of learning how to make people laugh interesting, whether it be a stand-up or a clown or maybe a comedic magician. That's interesting, or people's stories into how they get to where they are interesting. That's one of the reasons why of doing this podcast, because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the guest's going to be like. Some people are going to be very annoying. Some people are going to be wild. Some that I expect to be a certain way, are completely other ways, and then others I expect to be a certain way, and that's part of the fun of it. And I'm a chatterbox. I like chatting to people.
Good. I'm glad.
It would be quite a funny podcast if I didn't like. Oh, I don't like talking to
If you
people.
were like Russell Brand, like I hate everybody and everybody's crap. Yeah. Um, I really don't usually enjoy stand up very much because it is very much because I find that clown works with audience and I find stand up, and maybe it's just bad stand up I've seen, works against an audience. And I don't like that. Yeah, it doesn't work for me. It doesn't engage me. And I want to feel like if I'm watching this show, if I've come to the theater, I'm watching this show, I better be in a way integral to what is happening in
Ah,
this evening. Because even when I make shows with people, and we end up with a script, it could be 8 or 10 or 12 pages. It's like, and it's an hour show. I want to see a different show every night because I want to build in audience moments with the audience and connections with the audience and what's working or what doesn't work or the gifts of the gods that night, or whatever. So yeah, I like things just a bit more raw and immediate and honest. And if those elements aren't present, then I'm not present as an audience because I'm like, I'll never get that 2 hours of my life back.
it, now that's an interesting point you've made. It's I'm not so sure if it resorts to some of the really great comedians that I see that are very much based funny on who they are.
Like,
Um,
do I know them? Because I don't know the same people.
but I definitely what you say with comics that are just completely joke, and they're nothing like their words. What you said, it's when I go for other jobs and I put in that I'm a comedian or something, they assume that you're a great performer or like it helps with different things. If you're just a word-based comic who just jokes, I feel that you put the words to hide from the audience.
Yeah. I'm like that very much. And in the work of Clown Through Mask, in the first 6 weeks of work or 5 weeks of work, um, they don't speak. It's like, how do you engage an audience in their turn? They don't speak in the wearing and the expression discovery of the mask and the articulation of that mask. They speak, but when it comes to do the turn to express that mask to us, the audience, um, no words. It's like, I want to find out who you are without all of those things around, whether it's script or your incredible, ability as a contortionist or a juggler or whatever. I want to know who you are when you stand up there first. And I want you to know that, and to work, embrace that and work from that place.
Is performance a bit like a dance?
Always, but it's not a choreography. So yeah. No, and I've heard of like wonderful, clowns, and I was so shattered, and they had an audience participation thing, and I was so shattered to hear after, because this person happened to pick one of a friend of mine, a student of mine that was in the audience, and so she was like taken aside, and told what to do and how to do, and she, to do that and to not do this, but do that. And I thought, wow, you've just, that is so shitty. That's so shitty, because I want to see you as clown, who's driving the bus. It's like, I want you to find out I don't know, I want the performer to take the risk, to figure it out. So I don't want, to know it was a staged, choreographed sort of a thing.
Is that one of the is that probably the hardest bit with clowns? Because I find when I do certain bits and I fail on stage or something, when I try and recreate that exactly, the moment's gone, and with some bits I've done, it's been so like it's been near impossible to create the exact same thing.
Yeah, like Philippe would say, you have to do it 100 times now, and then you'll get it, then you can get it back. But it's that thing of, how do you work in the moment? How do you learn to work in the moment, in the now, in this conversation that's set up in this theater, or in this, whatever this is, in this moment, what's that like? And I like to, because I think I don't know, in clown, you're more you than when you're not in clown, because I think it's a genre that can handle all of you, and so I want that all to be available. And it's the thing that is going, anything can be called on at any time. And I would love to see you be brilliant and take that, and even take your failure, I mean, really, not like, oh, the fail is the gift of the, yeah, we know the fail is the gift of the gods, but I mean, take the fail of the vulnerable moments, of things not working out, or when things did work out, or.
Can I show you a couple of videos of like comedians that are more funny based on their performance rather than based on what they write?
Okay. I'm no expert on, I mean, I just have my own thing. I'm not, I have opinions.
I'll be interested to hear your opinion on what your thoughts on them are. Because there's my favorite American comic is Joey Diaz. And if there's one comic that I want to see in here, it'll be him. Because he is just funny as hell. Like it's just him. He's like a grumpy old uncle who's had a very mad life.
Mm-hmm.
Talking right now. Oh,
that didn't work.
Here he is.
He looks like a hitman.
There you go, a little something.
He is. No, he was a former drug dealer.
Me and 4 other guys.
Yeah, he looks like
going fucking.
He's a former drug dealer, but he's had a crazy life. But he's amazing.
Deep into the murky waters.
Welcome to This Is Not Happening.
That and her had broken up, so I lived the whole summer shit, right? So I got thrown out of Catholic school after the 5th grade year, so now I'm in the 6th grade, and I got to go back to this town called North Bergen, where I'm from in Jersey, and I got to go to a school named McKinley, and my mom was single now. My stepdad and her had broken up, so I lived the whole summer. My mom goes, listen, here's the fucking new rules at the house. I'm not fucking with you this year. I don't have time in the morning to wake up and make you breakfast. I don't have time to wash your fucking clothes. I'm running a business. I got 2 businesses, so you're on your own. The first time you fuck up, I'm putting you in military school in Miami with your cousins. You gotta salute people and run with a rifle and shit. And I'm like, fuck it, I promise you I won't fuck up. So the whole 6th grade year, I was by the book. I fucking did my own laundry. I made my own breakfast, and I would go to work in her bar in the afternoon. I would go to karate. I got A's. But then something fucked up happened in the 7th grade. I fell in love. I fell in love with the skinny chick, flat-chested, the whole fucking thing. But there was no sex involved. We were just dry humping like motherfuckers. We would go home every day and dry hump to death, like 2 album sides. Like that was the minimum. Like 2 album sides. I would fuck up a zipper every day. Like every day, I dry hump my way, either her past her zipper or my zipper. There was no tits, there was no fingering, there was nothing.
What?
It was just straight on fucking dry humping. I fell in love. I got fucking consumed by dry humping. I stopped going to karate. I stopped going to fucking basketball. I stopped doing homework. And then she told me in February that if it all works out, at the end of the summer, we're going to have sex. Who the fuck could focus? When you're going to have sex the summer of your 7th grade, I was going to have fucking sex. I was fired up. And then in June, she goes, you know what? I changed my mind. I want to keep my virginity to the 8th grade. I'm like, fuck. So I by that time, I was getting D's. Like, I had just flunked out of fucking school, and I had to go to summer school, like the dry hump.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I'll stop that now. But
Thank you.
sorry, it's not for you. It's
Wow.
but I spoke to him with Matteo Destro, and from that, he's a student of Lecoq, and he spoke about how he used a lot of shape shifting and movement to be funny rather than just straight. And like and I've shown him to a few other people, and he reminds you of like your old miserable uncle.
Wow.
He's not for you, no worries.
No, wow. Interesting at all to me. No.
That
Nothing.
wasn't one of my favorite.
No, I'm like,
you a
what,
clip.
who the fuck are you? Fuck yourself, fucker. Like, go fuck off. Like, I don't know. A big fat man, fuck you. That's fuck that. I would have like stood up and said, fuck you, you old fucking fuck face. What the fuck is that? There is absolutely no risk in that at all.
Okay.
Totally in control of everything. He's an absolute fucking asshole, and people pay attention because he's a big fat man who's a big scary guy.
Okay.
Call it shape shifting, whatever. He never shifted out of being a fuckface to me.
Whoa! Yeah, he's definitely not. But he's okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
What was it? I'll say one thing, and then because he's someone you're not keen on. What?
No, there's no point in him living. That's what I think. It's like I'm not keen on him. It's like, wow, okay. Anyway, you lower the standards of the audience every time somebody like that performs. Okay, but you go ahead.
So how does it lower the standards of the audience when someone like that performs?
How does it not? What was in there that was, it's like, I know fart jokes are funny, and when we fart, it's funnier. It's like every time you fall down, it's funny, and those can be lovely things. I don't know, maybe he's really trying to tell his story. Yeah, he's looking for some people to tell his story. I think he's kind of fucked up.
But so what would be, this is a thing that a lot of people say about comedians as a whole. There's a gap that people are missing in life or something that makes them do it, and they use comedy as a way to fill it. Does that also apply to clowns, in your opinion, in terms of like some people chase it?
I mean, it's really hard. Isn't it hard to make that big blanket statement? Because there's people out there that call themselves clowns that I don't think are clowns, and there's people that aren't clowns and don't want to be called clowns, and they're beautiful clowns. So, I don't know. I do it because you do it because you can't not do it. It's like I can't not. I just couldn't. Everything comes down to clown for me. Everything like that. Sometimes a terrible thing is going to like a one-person show at a fringe festival, it's like, oh God, this is going to be the story of my boo-boo, my sad life and blah, blah, blah. And that's not interesting to me. But if you can articulate, process, create a world that expresses, really tells your story, and your relationship with that story, you think, who's going to be interested in this? This is far too personal. Nobody's going to be interested in this. But what happens with a great clown is that personal story becomes universal, and everybody thinks you're telling their story, and they love you for that.
And that's what you said there is a lot of, it's a sort of common stroke in stand-up. A lot of people say a regular story that people relate to, and oh, I felt that. Well, it's the same with a lot of musicians as well. When they do a strong love song with Whitney Houston, you go, oh, I felt like that, and you get to reminisce about your painful times in a nice way.
Yes, and sometimes it's good to know you're not alone, or I think a big thing is to be acknowledged as somehow to make the audience feel as individuals that they are being acknowledged as an individual, even though the story is universal. And the thing is, it's not important that we agree about what that story is. So, for example, I made a show with a wonderful clown, and she happens to be a fundamentalist Christian, which is sort of not my thing at all. But what was great was in her show, so she did her show. It was a lovely, really good show. She was very funny and beautiful and poignant and funny. And then friends in the audience, it was a gay couple, lesbian couple. They were so excited because they came up and said, oh my God, I just felt like, oh my God, because she had a line in the show about this thing that's very important to me. I can never talk about it. I can't talk about it. And it was like, and here's like the antithesis, because of course in this person's show, those people are going to go to hell, but those people, that couple was like, it was marvelous. She was telling our story. You see, you don't have to agree on what the story is.
It's about, as long as you get something personal and valuable to you.
Because anything we're watching from our experiential nature. So everything we're watching, we're only understanding it through our own experiences, through our own whatever little brains.
And is that one of the approaches you take when you're working with others or producing a show? You don't try and force anything on someone.
Never.
You help them find what works for them by getting to know them and just like giving them enough room for them to find the answer rather than force the answer on them.
Well, I actually now only make shows with people who have the pedagogy of Clown Through Mask, because we have a certain pedagogy, a certain language, and certain tools that I use, or we use, to arrive at what the show's about, what the script is, how the script evolves. Because, anyway, a bit about the process of Clown Through Mask is making, creating, and wearing and expressing a series of 6 masks. And in each mask, there are 2 sides. There's an experience and an innocence, not related to each other logically in any way. So really, you've got 12 masks. So for me, it's like I sit in a room with the person in the studio, and it's really a conversation, and we tape everything. Like I'm talking, they're talking, and I'm getting them to talk to me in, for example, mask 1 experience. Maybe the quality of that is loss. And the mask, how can I say, the mask is given to us so that we can articulate what we otherwise could never express. Because we have to articulate it the story has to come in an abstract way, or we get too attached to it. Wow, this is like a book on psychology, but it's not. It's about creativity. And so anyway, the script and the show evolves through the through the conversation, through the exploration of the masks, sorry, and also what kind of world or props maybe they bring in, or I brought in something after a couple of days. I usually have a picture of what this show could be, what might be happening in it. So that's how I make a show. I don't sit down and write jokes. I can't do it.
So
Yeah, weird.
you got me. I need to process this. So
Yeah.
let me get, so with the process of building a show, you have an idea of it and you just effectively play with it like it's you develop it like a brick in a building or something. That's how you see it as.
Absolutely,
And
like a
you
brick,
keep
like a
that vision.
puzzle. Well, but no, I have to be, we're always in the sense of, in the spirit of letting go of, what your idea might be. Because, I have somebody who says, okay, they come and they want to make a show and they want to have this and this and this in it. And I said, great, okay, let's see how that, appears or doesn't appear. And so then we find out if it really is important that it's in the show, or if it's like only one sentence in the show, or if it actually becomes a scene of the show.
So, but does that they say with you? I don't know if they're doing a clown show. Is how I realized that I wasn't a human. I was a dinosaur, and they put that as a. How would they? So they'll come up with the idea, they discuss what they plan and how it's going to work, and they go through it. You prompt them maybe a few exercises. You say, how about maybe you add this, and then maybe they tell you how the show's gone, and they go back with you, and then you have a chat with them. Then they do some other bits.
Sort of. So I work usually 2 or 3 weeks. We work in the studio. So they, as I say, we videotape everything, and they have to transcribe everything. And then we take a break for maybe 6 months, and they don't do anything with that. We come back, we look at the material that's been generated. We see things that are there that can work, that things that we don't need, maybe, kill the darlings, right? That's for another show. And then, try to understand what would be the opening block of this? What would be the next thing? Like, how do things evolve and devolve in this, and where does this take you? What are you at the end? Because I think clown is really about transformation. And for an audience to have that experience of transformation, the performer has to go through the quality of transformation. They have to learn or unlearn during their show, so that you're never the same at the end of a good clown show as you are at the beginning of that show.
Oh, that's that. What? Why would that be the case? That's very interesting.
Because it's transformation, because we're taking on some kind of trip. I mean, because for me, there's 4 elements that have to be present in a successful piece of work. You have to present yourself, take me into your world, transform me, and bring me back with a new awareness. So those 4 elements, if they're in place, you have a complete arc. And there's going to be a beginning, middle, and end in that.
And what would be an example of a recent show you've worked on that demonstrates that? And in this, to a layman that's listening in now, someone at the
Oh boy.
that
Well, let's see. That's it's impossible. I can't really say. Shall I say about Barnaby's show, maybe, because that's
okay, sure, let's do that.
Well, that was an interesting start to that show, because it was supposed to be a duo do that show. Two guys were going to do that show, and then I got to England, and then there was a crisis, and then the other person couldn't do the show. And so I'm there, and it's like, well, what do we do? And then Barnaby, who's ever like the driver, like, I I'd like to do it anyway. I think I'll make a solo show. I was like, okay. I wasn't really planning on that. And it has a beautiful entrance to his show of pulling. He doesn't do this show, I think, like this anymore, but he pulling a piano, because his piano was stolen, pulling in a piano on stage, and then there's a world in that piano that is revealed. What can I say? And so at the end, he's quite, you can see he's sort of a lone traveler. You know, he's definitely alone. And there's a point in the show where he's playing the piano and he's trying to be fantastically interesting, and he sees it's not working, and he just drops his head on his hands and says, I have to find something to care about. And I just love that line. It's just a fabulous line. And then it's sort of his what happens after that. So there's definitely key things in a show that happen, but it's like trying to talk about clown, I think, is pretty impossible. And trying to talk about a clown show is also pretty impossible. But I look at a clown show like it's not snack food. It's like, you don't want to see a show and it was like really funny, it was really good, and or you go to see Cirque du Soleil and you go, wow, all those people are so, they spend a lot of time stretching. And then you forget about it. But a clown show, part of that comes home with you and you feel affected by that in some way. Even if you didn't like it. I think that's also, interesting information too.
Okay. Well,
but I don't know what I can really, I've made a show with a man in Peru. That's my last show. That was before COVID. And a wonderful woman in Quebec, I think a year or two before that. And I can't remember. I don't know. I've made about 40 shows. So I don't remember. I don't remember their order particularly. So
to someone that's listening in right now,
yeah,
and they've done a clown course or done that, what are the 6? So you mentioned the 6 masks, and each of them come across with an experience. And what was the other perspective?
Innocence.
Innocence. So perspective and experience and innocence. So would you be able to explain those 6 masks for people that are listening now?
No.
Oh, okay.
Because this is an extremely personal journey for the person who's whoever is in the workshop. Each person encounters whatever there's some things I have an inkling about, but I don't talk about it. But it's a circle, right? It's like a clown knows there's no beginning, there's no end. It just works in a cycle. So it's not like an evolutionary, like I'm good, better. Oh, fantastic. I've reached level 6. It's like there's no level. It's a circle. It's a cycle. And every one of those stops, every one of those masks are important, whether you like them or not, or whether you're good at expressing them or not. They're all like a stepping stone, to the next, to whatever the next thing is. So it's a very abstract thing. And it's like talking about a joke or comedy, or I don't know. It's very, very difficult to do that.
Okay.
Like, why would I tell you what your experience is going to be before you've had the opportunity to have that experience?
To know a little bit about what to expect, so that you don't go in.
There we go. Expectation cuts off experience. Okay, so that's out. If you expect something, or you anticipate, oh, it's going to be like this, I'm going to deal with my, I lost my dog, my mommy died, whatever. I'm going to, then that everybody's story is unique, and so when they tell the story of wearing the mask, and there's an improvisation within that everyone follows individually through their mask, and it's an exercise which came from Lecoq, but Pochinko sort of turned it inside out, and it's waving goodbye to someone you love. So everyone wears their mask. There's a process, specific process of that, which is unique. And through that improvisation, your story is manifested, sort of, it creates. And then I say, out of that story, say you were, I was I don't know, I was a barmaid working in a, I don't know and working in a bar, and I was saying goodbye to a sailor or whatever, and this person is going away forever, and you're never going to see them again. And what is that goodbye like? And then you have the opportunity on your walk home, in the improvisational walk home, of going back and saying your final goodbye. So from that whole experience, and there was a lot of stuff that probably happened, maybe one thing. What is the most compelling thing to be expressed out of that mask? So out of everything, out of all of the stuff that was going on, the most compelling thing for me was hope. That's my word. I'm going to say hope. And so I'm going, okay, so how are you going to express that? And you can't talk and you can't use words, right? So how are you going to do that? How are you going to perform that? What's that going to look like? So, maybe you set up a table, it's got 2 chairs, you have a cupcake with a candle in it, and you're like, and you sit down and you're like, somebody's going to come. I know somebody's going to come. And, you're feeling that, thinking that, and that's how you manifest your concept of hope, possibly. At some point in that performance, something's going to happen, and you switch into the innocence. You switch into the other side of the mask. And that is usually a surprise to people, like to the performer, because you can have the thing, okay, this is going to happen. I'm going to blow the candle out, and then I'm going to be in the dark, and that's going to be the end of the show. It's like, okay, no. There's something that's going to happen, and you're going to be listening, reacting. You're going to be working in the world with the audience, with your world, and something's going to happen, and that's going to be the thing that kind of triggers the transformation to another thing, which is like maybe it's anger. So then you set fire to the theater or something. Okay, you can't really do that, but maybe that would be the best thing. Okay, but I'm not saying anybody should set fire to a theater. Okay.
And does the mask help in terms of that? Because with words, and as I said, when people do joke writing, just do straight up jokes, does that the mask help express themselves because it's based on does it express their performance? If you see someone's face and you do certain things, does it limit their performance? And does the mask help express?
Yeah, I would say that. Because the thing is, for us in our masks, once we wear it for the exploration time of, discovering what this mask is, which may be human or not human, anything at all, we don't even wear that mask again. Now you've got the nose. So you wear the red nose. Possibly. I don't even use that much anymore. So there's a physicality that is not going to be possibly your, normal physicality. There's going to be, a manifestation in the physical that, maybe that will be an aspect that is actually helping you stay in the quality of, say, one experience, if it's loss or something. Gosh, I don't know.
Oh, God, you this time.
No, it's like I don't know. It just works. But a big thing is expectation. It's like, and if people say, "Oh, I'm looking for something like this," it's like, well, then you're going to miss all these other things, for one thing. if you think you're only looking for this, and if you actually think that that is the right thing to be looking for, it's like I always say, you get what you need when you take this work, but may not be necessarily what you want. So.
And that's
Yes.
how do you deal with ones, because with you've been teaching so many different people, you must have a lot of interesting stories, lots of amazing moments, but also things on the other side which give you wild stories to talk about, and you learn something in a way as well. Like you get students saying,
I hope so.
"Oh God, why are you saying all this for?"
I'm not sure what that is, but
I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I'm amazed every time. And every time I walk into a workshop, I always feel like I have no idea what I know. And I have to serve the moment. So I have to be available to do that, to offer that to whoever's working.
So for people that might not be so used to like clowns out there, who are examples? You mentioned that there's some people that call themselves clowns that aren't clowns. I'm not going to ask that question because that I don't want to put you in murky water, but maybe we could say it after the podcast. No, I'm joking, don't. Or maybe do not. But let's talk on who are examples of clowns that you wouldn't expect to be clowns. Because one person who I didn't know that studied clowning was Josh Gordon-Levitt, from the actor that did.
Oh yes, yeah.
I was surprised. I didn't know that he did Slav's No Show, and I wouldn't have expected him to be someone who's done it.
And so, oh gosh, you know, I hate to. Well, I have a terrible memory, so I won't even remember anyway things I liked. But this will probably upset people. But the first Pirates of the Caribbean with Johnny Depp, the first one, the others were terrible. The first one, I was like, holy crap, that was fabulous clown to me. You know, I mean, even like watching French and Saunders, like I think they're brilliant. Oh gosh, I don't know. Not many. Although I was in New York working on a show, and I went to see Waiting for Godot, and yeah, it was like, oh. And then I went to say, oh, what's the name of it? No, I can't think. I think it's an Ionesco play, Idiot or something. And Jeffrey Rush was in it, and he was brilliant. Oh my gosh, he was just brilliant. He was brilliant. I mean, he was off the stage, he was moving through the audience, and you're like there. I mean, he went to Lecoq, and I'm like, wow, there's somebody who just is like so reeks of fucking talent. And then, you know, so often I think TV or movies, they limit these people a lot, and that's unfortunate. But certainly in, you know, theater. John Goodman was in the Waiting for Godot, and he was brilliant. He's from Roseanne. I don't know. Anyway, he was brilliant. Oh, and if you watch Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? With George Clooney and two guys who are brilliant clowns, and I can't think of their names. Do you know the film? Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Oh,
No,
you gotta watch it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's well, that's worth watching. I think that's a beautiful clown film. I would say clown on all of them. They're gorgeous.
Ooh, I didn't know about Jeffrey Rush and George Clooney. You classify
Oh,
as
he was and the two guys, which I'm so sorry I can't think of their names because they were so good. John something. Anyway, I mean, you know, sometimes it's just having the right, well, it's the right person, having the right director, having the right script, having the right kind of permission and environment, that some people just come out so beautifully. Melissa McCarthy, I think, is brilliant, and clown. She has a lot going on. Yeah.
okay. Who are clowns that you admire, and what is it? What are some who are clowns that are called clowns and that performers clowns that you've seen recently that you've admired their performance, and what was the
I
quality?
haven't seen anything recently.
Oh, okay.
And so that's tough. I don't know. I saw Robin Williams in New York, and you know, and it was a more Q&A kind of a thing that he was doing in New York, and he was fabulous. He was so beautiful because he was heartbreaking, but he was absolutely gorgeous, and he was so generous, and he was fantastic. But I can't say as I like his films very much, like they're pleasant, but I mean, like Mrs. Doubtfire and stuff like that. That's not. But to see him in person was really quite amazing. Yeah, there's people I've seen that's like, well, I don't know about that, but I don't want to say anybody's name. So
Okay. So one question I want to ask, and this is a little cheeky question. Can I ask this?
well,
Did you get his
depends.
phone number? No. But what's he like as a person? Is he as you see him on talk shows where he's like, and like all this wacky things that he does?
Um, well, it was a bigger environment. It was at the Juilliard School, and he was being interviewed by Lillian Ross from the New Yorker, and he was so respectful of her. It was very touching, and there were some weirdo people in the audience calling out and stuff. He just handled everybody beautifully. He was supposed to be there for like 20 minutes or 10 minutes, and he was there for an hour. And finally, his handlers had to come and kind of physically take him off the stage because it was like an addiction. I think for him, it was a sickness almost, that he was so alive in the connection with the audience. But I know like when I see him in talk shows, it's like I feel like he's constrained. He's trying to like limit himself down to suit the space, and this can be uncomfortable, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, I can't imagine what goes on behind the scenes that for people at that sort of level, all the stuff you're complaining about what you deal with as a regular person, but when you have eyes on you like he did, my God, all the things you don't see behind the scenes. Maybe you get a security guard being jealous of you, saying, "Look at those shit shoes," or you get other comedians in dressing rooms saying funny things, or you get the amount of stuff he had to deal with was probably astronomical.
A lot of pressure, huge amount of pressure, and then comes with people expect that expectation because obviously, so they want that thing, so he's got to, like a performing dog, do that thing. Although part of him really is that, but I'm no expert on Robin Williams. It was just my experience when I got to see him. And actually, like then I saw Steve Martin at another talk, and he was like and I really liked Steve Martin. Well, I used to. And then he was just like a very rigid, very controlled person, but probably a lot of that has to do with, self-preservation or something like that. It's hard. I mean, how in these public environments can we know anybody? It's, and I think that's the beauty. And when I see a great clown work, that I actually have that feeling that I'm actually, part, or I'm privy to their joy and their failures and their fears, and I think that is a very beautiful thing.
It's good to witness someone be vulnerable.
Isn't it? And survive it.
And yeah, not in a way where we enjoy it rather than we get uncomfortable about it.
That's true. And I mean, the audience will always be your gauge. They'll let you know how far you can go. You have to be listening and respectful of that all the time. You're always, playing that because you want tension, right? There's always tension. There has to be good, and tension is a good thing. So more, less, more, less, less. And you kind of respect that. Or you ride it like a surf,
What would you say the tension is on social media? Because you see so many people get, you say the wrong thing, even if you mean well, the little thing, and it gets completely taken out of context. But in live, it would work. But if so many things that you say as a performance, if it's said in a tweet or on that, you're done.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a very interesting times, isn't it? You know, I don't know why anybody goes into politics anymore because it's like there's no hope for you. You know, you'll be destroyed in some way.
Now, you don't want to say any names. That's perfectly fine. This isn't an expose, but what is a thing that people often mistake as clown that isn't clown?
Choreography. When I see something and it's a number and it always goes like this, and particularly if we're using music, of course, we're kind of, you know, held to that on some level. But if I see a show and it's a choreographed, I feel, and I don't want to ever go to see a show and feel manipulated. So that's not cool for me either. That's a tactic to deflect the risk of the performer, I think. I want to feel taken into your world, but I don't want to feel manipulated into that or by that.
You want to feel like show is the first time it's been done, and you want to feel like you're special. Yeah, you exactly feel special, like it's been done for the first time. Even if it is rehearsed and prepared, you don't want to feel like it.
Right. I don't want to think that I'm just coming to see the same thing, or I could have watched it at home on my sofa. Yeah, I don't mind to see a bit of failure because I probably will see some lovely moments of survival as well. So something like that is good. You know, I mean, you just have to be flexible. I mean, you have to be open to the world and what's happening. And I don't mean the world in like a global sense. And, you know, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about well, that's possible. But, you know, in the world of the theater, you know, or that club, wherever I'm working, that tent, I mean, it's, I want to always acknowledge that I arrive in that space and the audience has also arrived in that space. And then, you know, how we proceed. But the script gives you you know, that's your reason to come out, even if you have to throw it away pretty quickly. Or you don't throw it away, well, whatever. That's just if you're in the creation phase. But no, a scripted thing, you can have a scripted show and like, you know, you were saying you had bits that worked and then trying to redo them, they didn't work because, you know, there's a lot of, because as Philippe will say, has said, I think, do it 100 times and get it back. But boy, that 100 times can be very brutal. And then so much of that has to do with our attachment to it. And our also, you know, you're doing that bit because it worked last night. And so in a way you kind of phone it in because you're like, this bit's good. I'm just going to have a cigarette over here. And you're not participating in your experience anymore. And I think for clown, the most beautiful thing is when I see people participating in their own experiences, that's very lovely and generous.
Oh, what's the difference between you seeing someone perform and not participate in the experience, but the difference between someone actually actively participating in the performance?
One is happening and one was yesterday.
So you're always being in it and ready to play with it, not thinking,
Yeah, like it's a lot of work. It is. And people are like, wow, that's a lot of work. It's like, yeah, that's right. It's a lot of work. And if you don't, you know, if that doesn't suit you or you're not prepared for that at this time, then sit down for a while.
and watch.
But all the time you're watching, you're just thinking about what you're not doing or what you would have done, or they should do this. It's like, yeah, we'll see.
Has being when you gone on the other side of clown, does that, because that's the same thing with a lot of comics, like once you go on the other side, it completely changed your experience of watching performances?
Well, the difference, I think, you know, when you say that word watching, it's like, I don't want to watch clown. I want to
Be a
participate.
part of, yeah.
You know, I want to be a part of it. And that's a lovely thing if that happens. But if I'm just watching something, okay, well, I'm just watching it.
Now, for anyone that's listening right now and they're saying they want to know more about you, where do they go? And what's a parting bit of advice
Wisdom?
that you'd
I
like?
tell it all through the whole thing, so you have to listen to the whole podcast for that. Yeah, well, you can look at CanadianClowning.com is probably, I don't really spend a lot of time on the web page, but my wonderful assistant Isaac Louis does. So yeah, that's it. No, I'm in New York, teaching in New York next month, and I'll be in Brazil in the spring and maybe Spain in sometime in also in the March or so. I can't remember something. No, not March, September. Anyway, I'm scaling back, obviously, it's like I'm getting old. I'm just scaling back my teaching and making
What about
sure
London?
about it. Yeah. I was just in England. I was in Norwich. Had an amazing time there.
Come and do a workshop in London.
Yeah. I like London. And I don't need a translator, which is nice.
Okay, so guys, if you want to know about Sue, if you want to know where to go,
good luck.
you go to Brazil, you can go to New York, just go on the website. And
I think they're actually full, but still you can
find a way.
You can email me. Yeah.
I hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure you give this episode a review, a 5-star review on all the platforms you see. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next episode, which will probably be with a good mate of mine, Tom Little, who has become a viral comedian, and he talks about how podcasting is better. Last time I saw him in Edinburgh, is more effective than just straight up social media stuff. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. I'll see you soon. Have a fantastic evening or morning, wherever you are. I get all sorts of people listening in, Sue. I've had people in from America. I have people from Iraq. I occasionally, when I'm gigging, I get an odd person that comes in and says, "Oh, I listened to your podcast. I expected you to be less shit." I'm joking. No, they don't say that. No, they don't say that. But there was.
Well, but they're thinking that. No. Thank you so much for the call. It's been really a pleasure to talk. And
hello. Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode. That episode bloody bamboozled me just as much as it probably bamboozled you. Yeah. Give the podcast a 5-star review on Amazon or iTunes. Share it around. And I'll see you in the next episode with a good friend of mine, the fantastic Tom Little.